Welcome to the Slow Smoked Pigskin podcast. I'm Darren.
And I mean Drew. And this is
our podcast.
What are you doing? You're not Aaron.
You're not Drew.
I think we should go.
That was weird, right?
Yeah, it was.
Anyways, I'm Aaron.
I'm Drew.
And this is our podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Slow Smoked Pigs. Oh, man, I haven't said in a while. Welcome back to the Slow Smoked Pigskin podcast.
It's good to be back.
That's Drew back with me. I'm Aaron. So we've missed a couple of weeks, so let's talk about who won the last few. Steve won week 12 with 181.19. I actually won week 13 with 169.95. And then week 14 last week, Janelle won with a whopping score of 227.53. It was the second highest weekly score of all time in this league. And not only that, she set the perfect lineup. It does not matter who she put in. She had no bench players who could have improved her lineup. She set the perfect option for her team. And ironically, when we look at the weekly report on Sleeper, it even showed that she had the best tight end bench warmer, but it didn't matter because her starter still scored more than that. So, quite a week, Janelle. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Janelle.
Ride that into the playoffs. Drew's a little salty if you didn't know because it was against him.
And not only was it against me, but it knocked me out of my slim pickings chance of making the playoffs.
Hey, you're in a better spot this way because now you can get a better draft pick.
I mean, I know, but I'm not in it to get into the toilet bowl and win the toilet bowl. I'd rather limp in and have a chance to make some money and figure out the draft at a later time. Because as we learned this year, the draft, my number one pick isn't playing. My number two pick is playing better than my number one pick. So, yes, they're both first round picks. I get that, but
my first round pick that I was excited about just blew out his knee again after playing 2 games part time. Great. So we're not going to go over all the details of the weeks we've missed. It's playoff time, as Drew just mentioned. We're here. So, who made the playoffs? Number 1, Jason Freeman, with a magical season for him. We'll get into some of these details, but Jason Freeman finished first, record of 23-5.
Impressive.
Second place, Steve, 21-7.
Impressive.
Number 3, me, 19-9. Slightly disappointing compared to what I had hoped coming into the season.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'm third, so can't complain too much.
Nope.
Janelle, with her strong last week, coming in at 4th at 17-11. Josh, after expecting his team to be garbage this year, is coming in at 5th with a record of 14-14. And then we're managing to have a below 500 team make the playoffs with Adrian at 13-15. So, that is our playoff, folks, for this year. The really interesting part that I found when I was looking through this was Steve and I are the only ones of those 6 who made the playoffs last year. I know Josh and Adrian are new to the league, but neither of their teams that with the previous owner made the playoffs last year, and then this year they made the playoffs with those teams. So
they're doing something right. To build their teams to make playoffs. Even if it was a sub 500, but still, it doesn't matter as long as you get in. And Adrian had some really good weeks. So any in that top 6 could take it.
I'm pretty sure when you look, Steve won a bunch of weeks. Jason won a couple of weeks. I won a couple of weeks. Adrian won at least 1 or 2 weeks.
Yep.
So, any given Sunday, baby.
Yeah.
Just talking a little bit about how these folks made it to the playoffs. So, Steve led the league in points for. So even though he finished second, he had the most points in the league. Unfortunately, we don't give a bonus for that in this league. I have other leagues where we do. We don't in this one. I only finished 20 points behind him. Jason, despite finishing in first place, was almost 150 points behind Steve. Considering a 14-week regular season, that's 10 points a week behind Steve. By the way, I said I'm not going to talk about last week, but Jason managed to beat Steve last week. Just craziness.
Yeah.
So, other interesting facts about the teams that made the playoffs. Josh made the playoffs because he had the lowest points against in the league, with 1,675 points against. By the way, Jason, with his first place finish, was second in points against, only 15 more than Josh, 1,689 points against him in the whole season. So, a combination of Jason being amongst the top scorers and amongst the lowest for points against, that'll help you win.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of skill that goes into fantasy football, and there's a whole bunch of luck that goes into fantasy football. If you get matched up because of bye weeks, because of an injury, and you happen to get matched up where they're having to put in some backups, yeah, that's you. Congratulations, because if we continue to talk about this, you'll understand my frustration.
I do feel that the extra matchup a week against the league median helps, but it can't completely rectify it because so we'll get into what Drew's hinting at. So since we have mentioned who made the playoffs, we can mention who's going to the toilet bowl. Our 7th place finisher was Drew with a record of 13-5, Joe 12-16, Raph at 9 with 11-17, Neil finished 10 at 9-19, 11 is Jason Smith at 8-20, and then Eddie also finishing in last place at 8-20. The thing about it though is, so Eddie finished 12th. Eddie had the lowest points for in the league, only 1,500 points, when I mentioned that Steve was a little over 2,000. So Eddie finished 500 points behind the leader. But highest points against in the league, Mr. Andrew Peterson, 1,949 points against. That's a
lot of points.
The one thing I'll say is at least your points against wasn't more than the highest scorer in the league, because I've seen that before.
It's 100 points off, but that's close.
Yeah. So that's definitely a bummer for you. And but the thing I feel like about your points for is, I feel like you had a few spike weeks where you put up a lot.
Yeah.
And then you had a bunch of weeks where you showed up not at all and scored half the points of those.
I won 1 week. I think
you won one. No,
I did win one. But then I've also got the lowest score in one. I've gone from 160 points to 80 points, and it's
you won 1 week.
Yeah.
I won 2. Janelle won 2. Adrian won 2. Jason won 2. Joe won 1. Didn't even remember that.
Yeah.
And
it was the lucky mother.
Yeah, that's right. And and Steve won 4.
I was gonna say, I thought it was 3.
That's pretty good. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had 7 different people. Wait, did I count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. No, 7.
Oh, Josh didn't win any. Yeah.
No,
sorry.
We had 7 people win week, so that's pretty good. I mean, that we saw some, variety. It wasn't, last year was a lot more fun for me. I think I won at 10 weeks or something last year. It was a whole bunch.
I don't even remember.
I'm looking.
Blocked that year
actually, I only won 6 last year. I thought I won more than that. This is all in the document that I share with you guys to keep track of our accounting and stuff, so that you have proof I'm not stealing your money. But I don't think anybody else has ever opened it other than me.
I didn't know we had a document.
Like I said. That's funny.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. Did I already say that? Oh, I already said that. Yeah, that only 2 teams made the playoffs this year that made it last year. Just me and Steve. Jason Smith went from finishing number 2 last year to finishing 11 so far. Now, by the way, when I say the finishing position from last year, that is as a result of the toilet bowl, which did shift a little bit from the end of the regular season, but not a ton. But still, I mean, CMC just killed him. I mean, when you're expecting CMC all year long, that he was the biggest heartbreak for basically everybody in fantasy this year. I mean, we'll talk about that in a couple episodes after the season's over, but
it's yeah, exactly. We will. We'll touch on stuff like that, but it's kind of you got to start thinking like the number 1 or number 2 team in the league has the 2 of the best running backs that are consistently scoring. So if you don't have like those superstars that are scoring points for you, like you need something, you know what I mean? Like if you're counting on the one, like, and you don't have it, you need something to back it up. I didn't think running backs were going to be that much of a factor this year, to be honest with you. Not like they are. Not like they're like creating like boost teams.
The crazier part is it's older running backs this year, right? Yeah. Like both Saquon and Derrick Henry. Well, Derrick Henry's old as hell for a running back.
Yeah.
You know, he's supposed to be dirt, and Steve went with, hey, I'm going to roll Saquon and Derrick Henry out there as old running backs. But the craziest part is that I believe, including quarterbacks, both of them are. I know we looked earlier, and Saquon is the 3rd highest scorer, including quarterbacks. And if it wasn't for the fact that Josh Allen had 51 points last week, Josh Allen wouldn't have been past him. Saquon would have been 2. And I think Derrick Henry's 6, maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So when you're getting that kind of production out of your 2 starting running backs, like I think all over fantasy right now, throughout, you know, fantasy leagues everywhere, whoever's got Saquon is probably in the playoffs at a bare minimum.
And
like
on top of, and at the top of the list of the teams in the playoffs, and probably going to be in the championship for the playoffs. Because you never know. Once you get there, you never know. I mean,
you never know.
Especially with teams resting players and already, like, that's the hard part with the end of the season in the playoffs, is it's like if your team's not trying to actively make the playoffs, like you might be getting rested where you only play half the game, or you're not getting those, 30, 40 points out of them that you've been getting. You're going to get 15, and that's the difference.
And, honestly, for Steve, it's a good situation because the fact that Steve earned the bye by finishing second, Saquon the Eagles played the Steelers this week, who are a very strong defense.
Yeah.
Guess what? Maybe Saquon has a down week, but it's on your bye week. That's why bye weeks can be so expensive. Important. Mm-hmm. Expensive.
I mean, they're expensive if you lose.
Yeah, right. All right, so by the way, I guess it may or may not be obvious by us giving the standings, but our playoff matchup, so Jason and Steve get the first round bye in the championship bracket. First matchup will be Janelle versus Josh. Janelle coming off her massive week. Josh with all the luck of the Irish. I don't even know if Josh probably, I would actually guess Josh has got some Irish in him. I might be totally wrong and he can hate me for it, but he's pale and white, and so I would go that Josh got some Irish.
He's English or Irish, which, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's the same thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, his last name's Smith, so it doesn't mean shit. Like, that tells you nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I get to face the Thunder from down under, Mr. Adrian, in my first week of the playoffs, which as we said, the problem is some weeks Adrian puts up 100 points and some weeks he puts up 180. So I don't know. My team managed to put up a decent week last week, 160, with I had one goose from Jaden Reed, who, what the hell? How did he have a goose? And negative 0.3 points from Jonathan Brooks because...
Yeah, Josh Allen, who made up for both of them. So
correct. That's how I managed. I think, if I remember correctly, I think I heard that it was the most fantasy points ever for a quarterback.
I believe it was for a quarterback. I do believe... Chase has the most points.
Right.
Ever. Only by a point or two, though. I don't even think it's that much.
I think it was, I want to say it was something like 53 for Chase to 51.
Yeah, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think Mixon a year or two ago had a 50-point game because he had like 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was like a 50.2. Like it was up there, but it wasn't the Chase has the record.
The record, yeah.
Yeah.
But so... I think both of those are going to be fun matchups to watch. We'll see what happens. Good times, and I think Janelle can take Josh as long as the team shows up. And I mean, she's got Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua, who right now are both absurd. So, like, unless they both have an off week, but and then James Conner has been quietly consistent, like. The fact that
they keep feeding him the ball.
Yeah.
Not only handing it off to him, but they throw it to him a lot too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So that'll be a good one to watch. And then, like I said, Adrian and I could be a tight battle. It could be a slug. It could be it could be a blowout. But it could be a blowout either way. Like there's no confidence to me in any direction in that one. Yeah. So we shall see.
I think even if Janelle has a down week, I still think that she puts up more points than Josh, unfortunately. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that if Adrian's team decides to show up, like if Lamar Jackson goes off, if Bijan has a 3-touchdown game, like then you're in. You might be in for it. If Stafford and the Rams go off against the Niners and it happens to be a blowout and let's just say hope Puka gets hurt or something like that, like, and Kupp is the guy, like Smith and Jigba, like if Seattle has to go into a shootout against Green Bay, that's where you kind of Adrian could take you.
Yeah, I mean Tyreek finally showed up this last week, but who knows?
Breece Hall might not play.
Correct. So that's a big hit for me.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson has been the
second.
Well, but he's been the second best receiver on their team lately for fantasy because he gets so much attention it leaves shit open for Addison, and Addison goes off with it. So I mean, Travis Kelce ain't done crap. But I got him in my starting lineup.
But how do you not start Travis Kelce? Like you have to.
And I mean, Josh Allen's playing Detroit. Detroit's defenses look good. I'm hoping that Lamar Jackson's playing the Giants. Hopefully they just hand the ball off to Derrick Henry since Steve's not playing this week.
Hopefully it's a blowout and Lamar doesn't have to play the whole game and he gets 13 points and goes and sits down because they're up 30-0 after the first quarter.
I mean, there's
those are kind of the scenarios that you look for, yeah.
So lots of moving parts here. So we'll see what happens. So moving on to our toilet bowl matchups. So Eddie and Jason Smith don't have to worry about playing this week. Ironically, our first matchup is Raph versus Joe.
All season long, I feel like.
So they've got to bet against each other. So technically, according to the bet, if we went by regular season, Joe wins the bet because it was 12-16, and Raph was 11-17. We still haven't ever heard exactly how this bet's supposed to work, but I feel like at this point, loser of this matchup owes the bottle.
I think that's how we should make them do it.
Yes, this is how we should make them do it. By the way, we didn't. I'm getting ahead of myself. But Jason finished first. Raph didn't make the playoffs. Raph, you owe Jason a bottle. Like, no doubt, no question. You can argue with whether you need it with Joe or not, but there's no question with Jason. And then, Drew, you get Neil. Neil's another team that has been inconsistent, but he's had some times where he put up decent weeks. I mean, last week against me, like, he had to rush at the last minute because like he had multiple Bills players who ended up being out because Kincaid didn't play, Coleman didn't play, and he was like, "Oh crap, I got to go find somebody to fill a spot." By the way, we haven't recorded in a couple weeks. I hate week 14 buys. That is so annoying with fantasy, and it made me think about we've talked before about one more game in the season resulting in an extra bye week, but then it puts the Super Bowl at President's Day and all that'd be great. Man, I hadn't thought about before what that'll do to fantasy. Like, how late will they put that second bye week, and how will it
However, there was a week 9 where there were no bye weeks. 9, 10, something 11? In the middle of the bye weeks. There's a week where they don't have any bye week games, and it's like, why are teams waiting until week 14 to have a bye?
Why is there
the season's almost over?
Why is there weeks where there are 6 teams on bye and then a week where there's 0? I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't know who made this up or why. I know that making an NFL schedule, a lot goes into it because stadiums get used for other things too, and there's a lot going on, but that just seems silly. Like, there's 32 teams, 4 should be on bye at a time. It takes 8 weeks to get through them. Then
I don't care if they play in Antarctica.
5 through 13. Make it 5 through 13. Wait, is that actually 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Yeah, so I guess make it 6 through 13 because I can count. To be fair, 13 minus 6 is only 7, but that's because you're including them that's 8 weeks.
Correct.
So,
but you're hurting my head at the moment. My point, but it doesn't matter where you play, just play. We're already playing in Mexico, we're already playing in England and Germany, and I don't know, where Cuba, like, let's go find some place to play. Canada. We're like, I don't care. Let's show them what real football looks like. I don't know. You can play someplace else, right? If the stadium is being used for something else. Like, don't give me that as an excuse.
So we said Raph, Joe, Drew versus Neil. I think Joe beat Raph. I think Joe's going to beat Raph. I think that can happen. And then you and Neil, you both swing so much. Like, it's hard to say.
So, I agree. So Cousins has been a big X factor. If he goes out and throws 5 touchdowns, Neil does really well. If he goes out and throws 3 interceptions, Neil doesn't do very well. Garendo might not play. Achane hasn't been very good.
Wait a second. Neil's not going to start Kirk Cousins. He's got Jaden Daniels.
Oh, he's got Jaden Daniels.
He just hasn't reset the lineup for the week.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just looking at that going, wait, what?
That's why. Okay. That makes more sense.
I mean, Neil got hurt this season by Tank Dell, who hurt me a lot. I had faith in Tank Dell and drafted him in a bunch of leagues that absolutely crushed me. I think every league I had him, I've actually just straight dropped him. Like, not traded for, not, like, ended up just dropping. He was a huge disappointment this year. Like, at the beginning, it was Stephon Diggs getting in the way, and then after that, he just never came back. It was crazy. But yeah, why was that? Because he's on Neil's bench. Like, is Bucky Irving gonna play? Is he healthy?
I mean, he was healthy and then hurt his back again, and then went out after. So, but I have I got Williams down in a flex spot that I can put him in, and I have other I have a receiver that I could throw in there, or like Lazard's back, and he may, like, who knows what happens with Green Bay. He happened to get a couple catches, but
Lazard's not on Green Bay anymore.
You're right. He's on the Jets.
By the way, how hilarious is it to see like the Jets doing worse with Aaron Rodgers than
and Devontae Adams?
Yeah, like it's man, like
I'm excited. There's a documentary coming out about Aaron Rodgers on Netflix.
Yeah, it's his recovery because I think he wanted him to record it because he was gonna like go through this recovery and have a triumphant return, and instead it's been an absolute dumpster fire, and it's fantastic. Like
it has
all goodwill everybody had from his time as a champ and multiple time MVP. I feel like he's destroyed it. Like no, who does anybody like Aaron Rodgers anymore? Like
Pat McAfee. Yeah, that's his name, right?
Yeah, McAfee.
He's got him on his thing every week.
Well, yeah, that gets him ratings. So
I know. Is it Aaron Rodgers? I mean, that offense is explosive.
Dude, look at the weapons they have.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
So, is it the O-line not being able to protect? Is it Aaron Rodgers being a douchebag? Like, their defense ain't too shabby either. Like, is it play calling? Is it scheme? Is it...
their defense hasn't been as good.
Are they cursed?
But still, they are.
Like, do they need to do a Peyton Manning like bathtub in the end zone? Have you seen this?
Yeah, I saw was it you who sent it? I think Steve sent it to me. Steve
sent it because whatever he sends to me, he has sent to you, or whatever he sends to you, he sends to me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, he sent it to me that like the Lions are 31-9 until they tried to light some whiskey on fire in the bathtub or whatever. Yeah, I saw he sent that to me.
I mean, the Jets need something because they have weapons, and it's hard to, as a fantasy manager, to put players like in. They're just not consistent.
Dude, like I have Devontae Adams in a league or two, and like I've been sitting him. Like, I mean, was it last week? I think it was this last week that he actually had a pretty decent week, but it was like, okay, cool. I got 2 weeks before that in a row where I was better off benching him. Like if I miss 1 out of 3, okay, I'll take a little bit of safer play. All right, so we mentioned the bottle bets already. Zay Flowers versus Calvin Ridley. I was wrong. You were right. Like we got to figure out a punishment.
That makes me feel so good.
Like that one was a bad call. I definitely thought that Ridley would do a lot more, and Flowers has actually been more consistent. I mean, I think is he a wide receiver 1 right now?
I think he's one of those low end like. Yeah, I think he's like a 10 to 12, maybe the high end 2. I don't know exactly where he's at, but he's also been a little inconsistent. Like he's had some really big games, and he's had some non-factor games.
Wow. Wait a sec. Oh, wait. I was looking at projections, not stats. That makes way more sense. I was like, what the heck is going on? Wow. Sorry, I hadn't looked at some of this. Do you know that Jamar Chase is 78 points ahead of the second best wide receiver right now? Which, by the way, is also crazy that it's Justin Jefferson. Like, it does not feel like Justin Jefferson's had that good of a year that he is the number 2 scoring wide receiver. And CD's 4? Wow.
Who else they throwing the ball to?
Yeah,
he's Jackson also come
Smith on. Jackson Smith and Jiggs was 6. And he started off super slow. Wow, sorry, I'm getting some craziness right now. Jerry Jeudy's in the top 10 because of
but it's all the last weeks. 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Wow,
for some of these players. Like, and Jigba's been like consistently in the high teens, low 20s for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. Jeudy has been going off. He's had 4 or 5 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks or something like that. Like,
so it looks like Zay Flowers 15, I think, in our scoring, which fine. He's not quite a wide receiver 1, but like this has been a pretty inconsistent wide receiver year. Like even Jamar Chase, even though he is number 1, he's had a couple of down weeks, but then he's had a couple of absolutely ginormous weeks.
Crushed it.
To make like I see a 49.9 here and a 37.3. So that makes up for I see a 5.5, a 9.7, a 7.8. Right. So wide receivers are never consistent. Nobody is. Usually the one who actually was, who didn't have quite the ceiling but was more consistent in the past, was Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he hasn't been this year. He's been up and down as well.
And a couple of, in one league, I think I took him first, and it's just like
I can see.
He's been there, but not like consistent. And Williams, Jameson Williams, he's almost been a little bit more consistent. Hasn't had the big blowout game that Amon-Ra's had a couple of times, but he's just been that little more consistent where you know you're going to get your 10, 11, 12 points out of him.
All right, so just to finish up this episode with some NFL news for anybody who cares about it, whether it matters a lot for our league or not. I already mentioned Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL again. It's the same knee. He tore it last year in November and didn't make it back until like week 10.
Is it a full tear?
I believe so. Honestly, I think there's a decent chance he misses 2025. Which is a real bummer. Like, with it happening this late in December, like, he's going to miss...
Is he the new J.K. Dobbins?
I hope not, because he'll be on my...
He doesn't hit it
I really wish at this point that
year 5?
I really wish at this point that I had left him on my taxi squad instead of on my bench, because now he's going to have to sit in an IR spot. That's a bummer. George Pickens, who has had a connection with Russ, but he missed this last week. Did he miss last week?
Yeah.
I think he missed last week, and he's doubtful again with a hamstring injury. And I think they called it a grade 2 sprain, which I guess is frequently a 4-week injury. So that's a big deal.
They're trying to make the playoffs, like they need him, but they need him more for the playoffs than they do to get to the playoffs. But I don't know.
We hadn't mentioned it because we haven't recorded, but CMC went on IR, and the same 20 minutes later, Jordan Mason went on IR, which meant Isaac Orendo, the rookie, was going to come in and get all the work, and he came in and looked good, and then he sprained his foot and maybe missing the game, especially because it's a short week. They're playing on Thursday this week, so that's a big question mark. What is it about San Francisco wide receiver or running backs? Literally, Guerrero started the season. He was supposed to be number 4 because there was CMC. There was Elijah Mitchell, who ended up going on IR, missing the whole season. There was Jordan Mason, was supposed to be number 3, ended up being number 1. Looked fantastic. Jordan Mason looked better this year than CMC did. Yeah. And now they're all out. Now Guerrero's out. They've got Patrick Taylor off a practice squad. Then they just signed Keyshawn Vaughn and Israel Abanikanda. This is just... But somehow they all produce for San Francisco. It's crazy.
They all produce and they all get hurt. So it's if you have a San Francisco running back, start him, but only expect 1 week out of him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The Browns waived Kadarius Toney. I just threw this in there because I think it's hilarious.
I couldn't stop laughing when he muffed that punt. I was like,
I missed it.
Of course he muffed the punt. It's just right into him, in his hands and out.
I missed it. No, I didn't see it. But, God,
It's on the Hard Knocks.
I haven't seen
the end season. It's the end season with the AFC. It's pretty interesting.
I only watched the first episode. Was it on the first episode?
I thought so.
Oh, maybe I just saw it.
I don't remember.
Either way,
see things, but yeah, it was hilarious. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy can't do anything.
Yeah. The Giants are going to start Tommy DeVito this week because he's healthy again. I still don't get why they're starting him over Drew Lock. Maybe they're just saying, hey, let's go for that first pick because right now I think they're at number 2. They know they. I think
they have a magic 8 ball. And when they make personnel decisions, they shake it and go, all right, it says we got to do it because they didn't go after Saquon.
Yeah.
They took their one player that they went for in Daniel Jones over Saquon and got rid of him. And now they're
Yeah.
Here you go, team. Let's see what you do.
I'll be surprised if Joe Shane has a job, the GM.
Yeah.
Brian Dable had been known as a good coach when he was in Buffalo. I don't know if he's going to make it through this offseason. It'll be interesting to see. I'm really not certain.
I think you have to make a complete overhaul of your coaching and your front office and see what they can do with the draft, because that team is garbage.
Yeah, they're bad. Derek Carr trying to hurdle somebody, went down on his non-throwing hand, has some fracture in his non-throwing hand, and is probably done for the year.
What are you doing? Did you see the play?
No. I saw, ironically, all I saw was a picture. I didn't actually see a video, but, I saw a picture of him, going down and bracing with his hand. But I heard he was trying to hurdle somebody.
Up and not hurdle jump, but
correct. He went
up and over two players. On his one hand. Hits him here, and the other one hits his leg. So he goes over, puts his hand down, and his hand got smashed like this when he came down on it. It wasn't even like this where he got could absorb it. It folded.
Well,
quarterbacks. The smartest players on the field, but yet they continue to do stupid shit like this.
Yeah.
I don't think it has any bearing on anything, because I don't think anybody's really starting Derek Carr, but
no.
Still.
Well, but it does impact Kamara. Kamara's the biggest one, because he does run. The Saints have just had so many big injuries this year. Taysom Hill was coming on, he's out. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. It's been a tough year for Saints fans.
It has.
Speaking of
another
team,
they started off so well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they started out looking fantastic, putting up giant points, and then just fell off a damn cliff.
Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell, he's out for the year with a knee injury. Not huge fantasy impacts, except for the fact that means that the Raiders have to start Desmond Ridder. Ouch. That's not a good for any fantasy options.
I'm not going for a championship with Desmond Ridder and Brock Bowers.
Yeah, good point. That is a huge hit to Brock Bowers, who has looked fantastic and looks like the future. Good. So good. And then you already mentioned it, but Breece Hall is still questionable with a knee injury. I think the quote was that he's struggling with it, which, considering they had a bye week and then he missed a game and he's still struggling with it, is real bad news, especially for me entering the playoffs. So, is what it is. This is where we stand. But playoff time, baby. It's the fun. I can't believe how fast this fantasy season went by. It's crazy that it's basically already over, and it makes me sad. At least, there's still 2 months of real football left. But, man, this went by quick, and it makes me sad that it's almost over. But
the fun part starts for us because it's going to be off season.
I was going to say, but I'm happy because we recorded again, and I forgot when it's both of us and not me trying to do it solo and miserable.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, Steve claims he watches these, so we will see if he can quote something from the middle of it or something later. We'll have to test him out. But good luck to everybody in the playoffs. Good luck to the toilet bowl people to hopefully avoid.
Do I have time?
You got
30 seconds?
30 seconds.
I want to throw it out there. I feel like if you're in the toilet bowl championship, I think it'd be more fun to see who can tank the best than setting your best lineup or trying not to tank.
So I think what I think you should do, and we only got 20 seconds, is you need to set a legal lineup.
Yes.
With the lowest score. Absolutely.
The worst.
That's what we talked about. That is legal. So if you want to do it,
correct.
Try it. That's your chance. All right. We got to stop before we run out of time. Cheers, bud.
Later, dude. Good to see you again. Bye.